Alright, we are going blind into 64 squares versus johnnyg2. Ho-Oh versus Kyogre. This is very clearly in Ho-Oh's favor. So, now Ho-Oh's going to run away from this. Probably go to a Dialga, because that's a great partner. You know, what do you do when you face the one lead that really scares you? You go to Dialga, you get up rocks on it. So, perfect. What I like to see is something I messed around with on the ladder, you run specs on your lead Kyogre. I mean, the standard Lum or Whacken, which we saw in this tournament, you know, they're great. You know, Surf, Ice Beam, Thunder, T-Wave, and you threaten pretty much everything. But I really like specs. Number one, because in case Sashless Dio Speed starts EVing to survive your Surf, then you will... Okay, that was an ad. I thought it was just the music. Anyway, yeah, so in case Sash Dio starts EVing to live unboosted Surf, then you are able to, plow through it. Thunder Oko's Tentacruel, which is really big. And what's really nice is that in situations like this, where Dialga's coming in, then you would punish it hard. So Dialga does come in here, and... Hydro. Okay, the Hydro does do a lot. I appreciate the use of Hydro over Surf here to guarantee that you're killing bulky Dio speed. So that's the same idea. I like that. But imagine if this was like Specs Water Spout. Even against the bulkiest Dialga, you are ripping through that thing. So anyway, it's likely that a Rocker comes in to meet this stealth rocking Dialga, whether it's Groudon or own Dialga or Jirachi, apparently. So Dialga gets up rocks, and now Ho-Oh's definitely coming back in on the rocking Pokemon that it also scares out. So the move here is definitely going to be Brave Bird, because the Ubers famously does not have many flying resists, and no flying resist really wants to switch into Ho-Oh's Sacred Fire, to say nothing of Earthquake complementing it even further. So... yeah, and Brave Bird is just... I mean, a lot of players, myself very much included, when you use Ho, you just get tunnel visioning and just trying to Sacred Fire the thing in front of you. And then when you really think about it, you realize, oh wow, Brave Bird smacks everything. It's Ho's most powerful attack, and it has such great neutral coverage. So definitely the move here. And turns out Johnny has the same idea. I was gonna say, Johnny probably doesn't have too good a switch in, because there's not really such thing as a good Ho-Oh switch in. But he has the same idea. He's like, look, I can't really switch into this Brave Bird safely, so I'm gonna try and absorb the hit with Jirachi. That was a very measured move. I like that, because number one, Ho is probably going to Brave Bird, so you don't let Kyogre in essentially for free. Number two, even if it's EQ or Sacred Fire because it's raining, then Jirachi can take the hit and slow U-turn out and then bring Kyogre in safely. So, smart move. Now, that's not going to be a completely free move unless you catch it on the Brave Bird prediction. Because even if you get Sacred Fire burned or EQ'd, then suddenly you're going to be worse against things like Latios later in the game. But, this is the Uber's dance. You have to play around the big threats that you struggle to switch into. So... but what that U-turn going first shows is that they're very likely speed tying at 244. Now, this is not guaranteed or anything, but generally, if you're running a Ho-Oh with Earthquake, especially in the lead slot, then you are going to have it outrun Sash Tyranitar. It would be stupid to get outrun by that. And generally, it's only a couple EVs for Jirachi to outrun that as well. Even if your lead is not... even if your lead is Kyogre and thus is not vulnerable to Sash T-Tar, then it's just a generally good practice. And a lot of the 90s congregate around that, like Groudon hits there too. And so Tina-O and sometimes Dialga. So yeah, it's that 244-ish tier is often crowded, so it's very possibly a tie. Because... yeah, I don't think this is going to be a bulky Jirachi. I don't think he expected to be outspeeding it. And when Ho is not running EQ and is not, going to EQ those T-Tars, then you don't run speed. But if this is a lead Ho-Oh, so it's going to be EQing, and it's... So I'm assuming that it was a tie. And with Johnny winning, then he protects his Jirachi, but he now faces the daunting prospect of switching into Brave Bird. So in comes Kyogre. And the thing about Kyogre is that even if it switches into the Brave Bird here, is that Johnny knows his speed on Jirachi. So if the Kyogre is the same speed or faster, then he know if it's the same speed, he knows it's a speed tie at the very worst, and maybe he just outspeeds. Maybe he has a little bit of creep on his Jirachi, just for that crowded speed tier. And otherwise, then if the Kyogre is faster, and Kyogre has more reason to be faster because it's going to be fighting those more, and it's going to be fighting more dangerous one-on-ones with those other 90s more commonly. Then if it's faster, then it is guaranteed to outspeed if Jirachi did. So he's got that going for him. And what's the move? Brave Bird. Yeah, good move. Sacred Fire wouldn't have done it. I mean, even if it burns the Kyogre, it's gonna just hit the Lum, and the likely Lum anyway, and not do anything. So now we have the interesting prospect of the Ho-Oh potentially being Pasho. That has started to emerge as a dominant item on Ho-Oh, and as you know, this tournament has progressed, then it's become more popular. People have been messing around with it to more visible effect, and that is why I'm already very proud of this tournament, even in just the first round. But yeah, if it is Pasho, then suddenly even Kyogre's not really threatening it out. And you can really like Ho-Oh already loves to stay in on everything and just do damage before it goes down, because trying to preserve it with spin, not the most reliable thing. It's better if you just blitz through everything. And Pasho really lets you do that. I mean, even something like Palkia in Rain is going to have similar problems. So great addition. Darkrai, Dark Voiding you is really silly thing to do anyway most of the time. You can probably just run Sleep Talk. So I like Pasho emerging here. So, and even if it's not Pasho, then you might consider. Well, I guess if it's not, then you probably would switch out. I mean, Dialga sustaining more damage wouldn't be great for the long term, but you're still only going between two Pokemon, and at least you'll have Death Fodder with Ho-Oh later. But the reason why you would consider staying in and just saying, maybe I'll try to outspeed this or something, is simply because trying to preserve Ho-Oh from less than full with Stealth Rock up is silly. But it's most likely going to be Pasho and stay in. So okay, we're not going to find out because that Hydro misses, and that really sucks. Even if it doesn't KO, then it puts it in KO range of pretty much everything else. So that really bites. And so there's Garchomp. So that's a perfect example. Like Garchomp would not need to lock into something dumb like Stone Edge, or have to boost it and Outrage to be able to take the Ho-Oh out if it had taken that Hydro even with Pasho. And now, I mean, Ho-Oh's almost definitely staying in here simply because, again, Garchomp is not nearly as likely as Kyogre to carry something that can directly threaten Ho for an Oko from 70. I guess it would just be a KO from 70. But Stone Edge, that reveals Scarf, and that makes the certainty of knowing it's Scarf, and in addition to its Choice Lock, means that it's going to be a lot easier to play around. And other stuff like, I mean, if it's like Rain Aqua Tail, then I mean that's what the Pasho's for, or that's a side benefit really. But non-boosted Outrage is not going to KO, and like if it's banded with Outrage, then sure they'll KO, but it's also locked into Outrage, so easy to revenge kill. So staying in with Ho-Oh against Chompier is an easy choice because it's going to reveal a lot of information, and in most cases, even if it does KO you somehow, then it reveals something about itself and makes it prime. It makes it easier to play around later, and most of the time it's not going to be able to KO you from this range anyway, so you get big damage on it. So you basically get a very, very free 2-for-1, or close to it. So there's Brave Bird doing a lot on the SD. Yeah, so he's SD and Dragon Claws and Ho-Oh goes down. That was pretty brutal. So here comes Jirachi. So very obviously Scarfed, gonna threaten it with Ice Punch. Johnny makes a great move, goes to his own Jirachi, and now he's going to have a very free U-turn. So what's going to come in? Dialga seems like the obvious choice, but then you realize you have to stare down Garchomp again. And so I really like that Groudon switch, because you switch into a U-turn here, but you force Johnny to reveal something else, and that's really, really good. And you sustain less damage, because if you U-turn out of Dialga, yeah, you reveal something less, but then you go to your Chomp on the Garchomp anyway, as you learn nothing more about Johnny's team, and you wind up sustaining more damage from the Chomp EQ or Outrage or SD to SD boosted EQ. 2 EQs are SD boosted, minimum if you're going to Chomp. And overall, that's a lot less than if you just switch Groudon into the U-turn. So yeah, you reveal another poke, but you also force Johnny to reveal another poke, and that's useful. So, Groudon comes in. It's almost definitely going to be some sort of setup variant. We don't know whether it's going to be T-Wave SD, Dual Dance, or Rock Polish 3 attacks. Lefties generally... Well, the fact that it's lefties makes it better at switching into U-turn. Because if it was Lum or Life Orb Rock Polish, then it would be a much worse candidate to take that U-turn, because you're not shrugging it off as easily. But with lefties, then it's fine. Clearly a lot of bulk too. And lefties makes it less likely that it's lefties 3-attack Rock Polish. Now, lefties 3-attack Rock Polish is a great set. It's kind of like Dialga, where, just because it's lefties doesn't necessarily mean it's bulky and slow. And that can very easily be spun to your advantage. But generally, the common thing is that you will run... when you run lefties Dialga, you're usually running bulky and slow. And when you're running lefties Groudon, without rocks, then you're generally running... Lefties Groudon without rocks is going to be Double Dance or T-Wave SD. So, SD, EQ, Dragon Claw or Fire Punch, usually Dragon Claw, and then Rock Polish or T-Wave for your speed option. So, one of those two. I mean, it still could be Rock Polish 3 attacks, but it's less likely. And, of course, the players in this tournament know this stuff so well, and they could be spinning that to their advantage, which is we've seen already and will continue to see. So... God, I love this tournament already. Anyway, so here comes Latias, which this exact scenario is why the case for Draco Meteor on Latias is so great. Even though it's the more bulk-oriented version of Latios, you still love having that instant power. Number one, it lets you threaten something like Groudon more instantly. So when you're checking the things you're trying to check, then being able to actually hit them for instant damage is big, because this is Ubers after all. And then with the Scarfrachi with rocks up, then that Draco Meteor is still going to sting it pretty good. And you even make it more difficult for Dialga to switch into you. So you threaten the thing in front of you, and you threaten the two possible switch-ins a lot more than if you were just Dragon Pulsing. So, Groudon's almost certainly... I mean, Groudon could stay in here if it's T-Wave SD just to get that pair off. And if Jirachi has Healing Wish to bring it back later, that could be really valuable. That could really turn the tide of the game. But that's not what happens. Jirachi switches in and eats a Grass Knot for 0 damage. So either Johnny switches out for Jirachi on the very obvious Scarf U-turn, and then Groudon comes back in, and then Latias comes back in, and then you have to worry about getting Dragon Clawed on the switch, and it's not a very fun scenario. And the other option really is to just recover. I mean, that's not the only other option, but the other thing that most players are going to be considering is to recover on the U-turn, so you're at least not switching out. And whatever comes in after, you can probably deal with it, but at least you're not forced to switch into the Groudon, which is a lot more instantly threatening. So Jirachi is going to pop that U-turn, sure, does a good chunk, and in comes Dialga. So that's a good switch, because when Latias recovers, then you covers both options. You maintain that good Latias matchup, that good one-on-one matchup, and you avoided switching into Draco, because Latias using Draco on Jirachi, definitely a possibility, but it's less likely, and at least it's not healing. So HP Fire instead. So that was a really great move. I don't think it was really aiming for Jirachi as much as it wanted to hit Dialga without going -2 instantly, because Dialga could potentially take Draco into -2 Draco, and then Jirachi could switch in on the second Draco and sustain less damage. But with HP Fire, then you have a fresh Draco to guarantee kill Dialga or smack Jirachi as hard as possible if it comes back in, and that was really nice. And the reason I really like that, in addition, is because Johnny's fallen a bit behind with how his Kyogre got KO'd without doing any damage, and then he basically lost his Garchomp as a result of that as well. And you can't fall behind a situation like this. You have to be aggressive, and he's really making the most out of Latias's capability of dishing out damage even against this team with 2 solid checks. So that was a really, really good play to not fall behind, and instead force a KO himself and bring the game back. So that was really nice. And even if with Protect, Dialga is not necessarily going to be able to live this, but he just drops instead. So great move, really great move. So now the Jirachi comes back in. He decides he wants to preserve its health for switching into Lottie later, as opposed to preserving the lower health Dialga, slow as it is. And now we're going to see another U-turn. So Johnny's going to Jirachi now, and now he's going to have to make that same choice of switching into the Groudon, but at least he's gotten a KO with Dialga, so he's not just fully treading water. You know, he's been able to bring it back in his favor somewhat. So here comes the Groudon, who is still scary, especially since Latias is now, you know, definitely in Dragon Claw range. So if it's dual dance and it just rock polishes here, then it can potentially pose a big threat. And lefties on Groudon in general, on set of Groudon in general, are nice because they help with Tina O. So, you know, you might be able to shrug off that Draco into Shadow Sneak and get a couple claws off on it. Maybe not, you know, if you're not starting at full, but hey, that's what the lefties are for, helping you get back to full. So there's not a guarantee that there's a Tina O there, and Groudon rips through most other things. So with Latias, you know, weakened, Kyogre down, Groudon, now would be a good time to set this thing up. And incidentally, this is why Body Slam on Jirachi, on bulky Jirachi, is really good instead of T-Wave, so Groudon can't do this exactly. What's interesting is that we can now exclude Thunder Wave as a possibility, because T-Wave SD Groudon would not run speed, and this Groudon got lefties at the same, it's at least a speed tie with this Jirachi that assumedly outspeeds T-Tar and, you know, maybe speed tied Ho-Oh earlier on. So it is definitely running Rock Polish. We don't know if SD or 3 attacks yet, but definitely going to be fast, so definitely not T-Waving. Not T-Wave SDing. So there's the Rock Polish, and Johnny goes for an Iron Head, and I don't know about that one. I think if you're going to stay in, there's no reason not to U-turn, because Iron Head just does very little damage, and it gets healed off, and you don't even get to switch out afterwards. So U-turn definitely felt like the move. And now if it's dual dance, then Groudon gets a second SD. Or not a second SD, a second turn of setup, so it would get +2/+2. So there's Dragon Claw ripping through Habin, so he was looking for the Tina O pivot there, I think. Because you don't really need to hit Latias on the switch, but he sacks Garchomp. So, and there's his own Groudon. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he was going to be pretty much in the same situation because Ironhead did a little more damage, but he also gave it an extra turn of leftovers by having to sack Garchomp. So if he just went right to Groudon, then he would have U-turned right to Groudon, then he would have been better off. You know, even hard switching to Groudon probably would have been better. But yeah, he EQs and he gets a big chunk in return. So okay, so Johnny's Groudon is not lefties, so also going to be some sort of setup variant. I mean, he's got the rocks on Jirachi, so that's what it's going to be most of the time. I'm interested in seeing in this tournament non-stealth rock, non-setup Groudon. It has so many options. I mean, we already know the defensive set can run like Protox, Lava Plume, EQ, that kind of thing. But I'm interested in like more offensive non-setup variants of Groudon, because it has so many great options. Anyway, here, we're still going to assume this is going to be like Rock Polish 3 attacks or something, because Dual Dance generally prefers lefties to try and get both those boosts, whereas Rock Polish with 3 attacks likes that security of the Lum, and we see it doesn't have Life Orb. So, because all it wants is that one turn, so you don't want to be neutered by status. Yeah, that's... Groudon is going to... or 64's Groudon is going to 3-hit KO Johnny's, whereas Johnny's is going to 2-hit KO it back after the chip, doing a pretty nice 46, even through the lefties, and brings it down, but at least he does not get swept by the Groudon, so down it goes, and Groudon's down, but it's now 3-4, actually, with Johnny leading. And Groudon is really low, but one of 64's 3 remaining is a Scarfrachi, which is not the most threatening thing in the world. So, of course, he could also have a lot of, you know, he's already got a real team of sluggers, and it's very likely that he has more. Like, I would not be surprised to see Garchomp here. And Rayquaza. Okay, so Rayquaza. So interesting that he went to Ray instead of Jirachi to U-turn, because it's not. I would not expect Custap on a non-Rocks Groudon, so it's not like you need the E-speed. So I think like with Jirachi you could U-turn and get the KO. Well, actually I should calc that because before I say it. Yeah, okay, U-turn's going to KO Rock Polish Groudon. So, from that range, it's going to be less than 12 too because of the way Showdown rounds up. So, I think that might have worked. If you get the KO, great. And if Johnny switches to something else, also great. And with Ray, well, he's not going to switch around this Ray either. He's just going to stay in. So he just goes for the E-speed. That's safe. That's fine. And actually, that's also a good move because no, I take that back. I like that because Latias will get KO by E-speed. Jirachi's just going to get eviscerated. So this not only prevents any surprise Custap stuff, it also forces Johnny to reveal his last. And that helps 64 plan around it with his last Pokemon, which remains unrevealed. So that was a really great way. So that's a perfect example of managing information against the possibility of the unknown. When you don't know what the opponent still has, and you can force them to reveal it, that's really good. We saw that with the Groudon switch earlier that revealed the Latias, and now this is the same extension of that principle. And now it's even more important because we're in the closing stages of the game. So I really, really like that move. That was really good. Don't worry about the Stealth Rock or the Life Orb. It doesn't really matter. If it switches it out, then it's going to come back in one more time and be threatening. But yeah, so... and in comes Dialga, so that's going to look to be a Scarf Dialga, so that's very useful to know. And I can't see Johnny not Dracoing here, simply because even if Rachi comes in, then it's going to take a ton of damage, and it's not threatening anything in return. And I can't imagine that the last Pokemon is going to be very good at eating Dracos either. I mean, I guess it could be Lucario or something, but I don't know. I think it's going to be something else that's also really threatening. Like Mewtwo would be a great candidate there, but yeah, I don't know. Even a Lottie Twin might actually, maybe even a Darkrai. I was thinking Lottie Twin just to have some more security against mid-game Kyogre because it does look kind of scary right now. But I mean, Mewtwo or Darkrai's offensive pressure would also be great. So hell, even a Wob might be all right there. So, but either way, I don't think Ray's staying in necessarily because it threatens the Latias and Jirachi so instantly and directly. So I think Rachi's coming in, and I think Johnny's just going to play it straight and Draco or even Dragon Pulse. Oh, he does sack Ray. Alright, so that might mean he's trying to set up with the last Pokemon on the -2 as preserving the... it is Mewtwo. Nice. Alright, so if it's Calm... Well, I don't think that... I guess it could be U-turn Ironhead T-Wave, but I feel like it's more likely that it's Wish if it didn't... Because I feel like more and more players are gravitating towards Body Slam as their para move. So if it is Calm Mind, then it does look really threatening, assuming that Jirachi doesn't have a para move. But, I mean, yeah, any Mewtwo set looks dangerous here. And, I don't know if I... Yep, there's Calm Mind. I don't know if I agree with going to Latias directly as a sack, as opposed to just going to Jirachi, because if Mewtwo is able to hit Jirachi, then the game is over anyway, so you may as well... But then again, I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference, because Latias is really useless against the Scarf Rachi and the Mewtwo, so that one's not as big a deal. There's the Calm Mind, and the lefties at that, so Mewtwo's back up to full. And here comes Dialga, so even if this is like Outrage, Scarf, Dialga, and Palkia sometimes run Outrage just to hit Calm Minding Lottie Twins on their physical defense stats. Oh, Scarf T-Wave, that's really cool. And, oh man, that just made things interesting. That is a great, great, great move on Scarf Dialga, and I love seeing it, and that saved the game like nothing else could have. Now the Jirachi can Ironhead the Paraflinch the Mewtwo down, and 64's last is going to be Scarf Jirachi of his own, and that's not exactly good at beating, bulky Jirachi. So that was so clutch. And oh, now he body I guess he was trying to... Well, okay, I guess he gets to turn to lefties. So it did have Body Slam. Okay. Well, so he could have beaten the Mewtwo, but it's Ice Beam or a Sphere too. So actually what's pretty cool is that 64 doesn't have... I mean, I guess it's Sunny, so even if... And he has a Sun team, so it was never going to be Thunder. And even if it was, then it's not like he can really fear it hitting, in Sun through Paralysis. And he didn't even need the T-Wave there. But, I mean, it's definitely safer than just Body Slamming, especially because... I mean, I guess he could have gone to Jirachi, but yeah. Anyway, what's cool is that he can spam He doesn't have to U-turn the Mewtwo down from... he doesn't have to Iron Head the Mewtwo down from full. He can just spam U-turn for a bit and chunk it into range for where he only needs a couple Iron Heads, and that's really big because that prevents Mewtwo, or that minimizes the risk of Mewtwo pressure stalling him. Yeah, that Iron Head does not do very much at all, so if I'm Johnny, I definitely start spamming U-turn. I mean, he's got a lot of them left, but just U-turn, just spam that. He has to worry about getting tricked, though. I guess he was trying to Body Slam the Jirachi to try and, paraflinch that if it came in. But now I think he's going to be given the Scarf, so now he has to lock into Iron Head and fully commit. And if he had preserved his Iron Head, I mean, the Jirachi's not going to be the problem. The problem is going to be Mewtwo, because he's already burned several Iron Heads. So I think that was kind of a waste. I think he should have just started spamming U-turn or even Body Slam or something, because the Mewtwo was not directly through. He shouldn't have been trying to flinch it out from full. But, I mean, he's a Scarf Jirachi. He's got 15 Iron Heads after this, so with pressure, it's going to be less than that, especially because he needs a couple more to burn through the Jirachi. So, there's 2. There's 1, 2. So, all right, so after this, he's going to have 11. So, that basically means 6 with pressure. So, and 1 recover. All right, so now he's got to do it from full. There's a Paraflinch. He's down to 7. But less with... Yeah, okay, and this one looks like Mewtwo's going to pull it out. Yeah, now he... that sucks. Yeah. I think it could have been played different. Like, if he does have Body Slam, I don't think he had to risk the Dialga. He could have preserved that. And it was definitely a tight finish, and, there was some luck involved early on that was, hurtful with the Chomp basically getting wasted. But... I think the Jirachi versus Groudon thing early definitely could have been... I mean, if you preserved the Garchomp then again later on, then that would have been great too. But a tight finish. Great first game. So we're moving on to the second. All right. So Darkrai lead versus Tina. Oh, well, this is basically the best lead matchup for Darkrai. This is ideal for it. So it's probably just going to Dark Void, because even if you hit a Sleep Talker, then a lot of them are choiced, and they can only Sleep Talk once before switching out because of DPP's choiced Sleep Talk mechanics. I mean, they can stay in, but Sleep Talk's going to fail the second time. And thanks to Bad Dreams, even if you Sleep Talk a Sleep Talker, there's some free 12.5 on it. So there's Dark Void. Garchomp trying to Sleep Absorb, so very clearly a Sleep Talking Scarfer. I would love to see a Sleep Talking Band Chomp. That would be cool. But, because that way you turn your... Because Scarf, I mean, you're not as threatening, and you want it to be revenge-killing stuff, so you don't want to, be rolling the dice there. But with Band, then you just throw around your nuclear band attacks and get more out of it. So I would prefer to see Sleep Talk on Band. Anyway, the first Void misses, and great move. He doesn't risk it, and he just goes to Wobbuffet and guarantees the removal of the Scarf Chomp. See, imagine if that was banded and it just melted the Wob with Outrage. How great would that have been? Anyway, so removing Scarf Chomp so early is wonderful, and he's got that advantage. And he's so... Now, what makes that even better is that he's now going to be able to pull off a Dark Void with Darkrai and sleep something that isn't a Sleep Talker. So that's going to be another numerical advantage, effectively. Especially because he's going to get momentum, and he hasn't even... Because it's not like Wob went down with Garchomp. It's not like a Destiny bonded it. So in comes Skarm, and back comes Darkrai for the Dark Void. Down a layer of spikes. This looks like a T-Tar balance team, but with T-Tar not in the lead, which is cool. So there's the Void. Here comes Skarm to... okay, Groudon is the rocker. That works too. Nice! Well, the miss is not nice, but most of the time you assume lead Darkrai is going to be Scarf, and it can do some cool stuff with Chople and... but the dual status thing, like a lot of players like T-Wave, but I like Will-O-Wisp here because that ruins something like a bulky Groudon trying to switch in. or like a bulky Jirachi, which doesn't care for paralysis as much. So I'd love seeing the Will-O-Wisp there, and man, I would recommend Wide Lens on this thing. But yeah, voiding the Scarm and then potentially burning the Groudon in a couple turns, that's really great. It would have been nicer to burn the... Oh, he Toxics instead of rocking. So that's good. I guess Garchomp is... Or sorry, the Darkrai is a big threat, and he wants to, cripple it, permanently. So, nice move there, but now the nice thing is that at least Johnny's going to be able to switch to something else on the rocks, or he's going to Dark Pulse on the rocks. It would have been nicer if he had hit it on the switch, obviously, but, take what you can get. So, here comes Wob. Oh, do you think he has enough bulk to take the burned Chomp, or the burned EQ after lefties and, after rocks and lefties? And he Toxics. Encore, nice. Alright, so he's Encored into Toxic, and he's definitely getting some more use out of Wob than you'd think from such low health. So is the Safeguard going to go? Yup, the Safeguard goes off, as Groudon sustains more burn damage at that. So now Wob is just going to be death fodder, but that's fine. And he gets a free setup with Ray. Great setup. I like this team a lot from Johnny. There's the DD, and the Scarm is sleeping, so yeah, he has to hope that this Ray can't hurt it at all. He misses the overheat, for goodness sake. So if he, like, pivots around... Yeah, he pivots around it now, goes to the Groudon and gets -2. I mean, he's still going to be taking a ton afterwards, but that really blows. So, he EQs, finishes the Groudon off, and doesn't look like he has many great options left. The funny thing is that Ray does not actually get the Sun Boost because of Airlock, which would be helpful. But Scarm, stays asleep and survives, and he just goes for the Life Orb Outrage. And look at Ray go! My God, what a beast! And now Shadow Sneak doesn't take it out because Ray's bulky, and it rips through another Pokemon. So, yeah. And Darkrai is still very fast and has the option of shutting something down with Dark Void. So, and 64 has lost a big form of speed in Garchomp, and not many unboosted things outrun Garchomp. So, there's very likely going to be a Latias here, or a Latios rather, but something that can... that would be like the fastest thing remaining that can still take on Kyogre. I mean, I'm sure there could be like a Quagsire or something too. That'd be cool. But point being, there's probably going to be something that Darkrai can outspeed and Dark Void, and then really ride out this big numerical advantage, especially with Wobbuffet providing safe death fodder. He could even go to Wob here just to get a guaranteed look at what is going to come in. But no, he goes to Darkrai, which is smart, and there's the Lottie. Very nice. Recognizing there's not going to be something super fast, unboosted. There still could be a Mewtwo in the last slot, but that's fine. Got 3 healthy Pokemon afterwards, and it's not as likely as the near guarantee of there being that Lottie there. So here comes the Void. He just goes for a Dark Pulse, not risking it. Maybe he wants to clean up with Scarf Dialga's Dragon Pulse or something, and he gets a Dark Pulse flinch, which I think was well deserved. And there's Dark Dialga, and that's going to be voided. Yep, that's not going to be Scarf with the Scarf Chomp from earlier. Could just be some bulk up stuff. It's got lefties, so definitely some sort of bulk up. And he hits the Focus Blast, and remains asleep, so bad dreams on full display. And now I think that's, it'd be, even if, 64 forfeits rather than, hope for a miss and then a miracle, which I would not do personally. But, yeah, that's Game 2, and I'm going to take one of my famed bathroom breaks to ramp up the tension for Game 3. Alright, this has been an outstanding display on both sides so far, and I'm very much looking forward to this Game 3. This is in a bit of a sleeper matchup for the first round, but I am really digging it. So, let's get into it. Alright, let me just adjust myself. And there we go. Tentacruel, Ho-Oh. Yeah, this is why Lum is, like, it feels like Tentacruel is being threatened with Okos everywhere, and I feel like Sash has got to, you know, maybe either some new bulk spread has got to be figured out, maybe with less speed, or we got to, you know, start slapping Sash on this thing again. Which is nice because with Sash, then you get up T-Spikes and you get a nice Hydro off on Ho-Oh as opposed to one or the other. Or, because, you know, none of the other options are anywhere near as good. The other options are switch into Ho-Oh on turn 1. So, there's the T-Spikes going off, and there's the EQ, and down it goes in 6-5, and you better hope those T-Spikes work. But there's a Ho-Oh alongside T-Spikes, and I love that. It's going to be sub or protect or, well, okay. That sucks a lot. Now, I'm not going to say that Ho-Oh is like a very good Ho-Oh answer one-on-one. That, you know, that's pretty messed up. But that Brave Bird was also messed up. For all we know, then he recovered for the free recoil against 64's Ho-Oh and was going to win that one-on-one. You know, because that Brave Bird could have done like 55 and then a crit turns it into 100. So, yeah. We don't know. That blows a lot. So, in comes Tina O, and Draco does not come close to KOing because Ho-Oh is a monster, and it Brave Birds again, and doesn't even get recoiled. And now Tina O is at -2 and can be switched into easily, or more easily, rather. And Fori comes in, and even an HP Fire is not going to scare it. So 64 is going to get up a hazard in return, or he spins. Nice move. So the T-Spikes go down, and he brings Ho-Oh back in on the rocks. No, he doesn't. Great move from Johnny. Very aware that he can't afford to let Ho-Oh come back in, and that was the most obvious place. Great move. If he had Lava Plume, then that would have been also a very safe move. But oh, it's not okay, so it's not lefties on the Groudon. That's interesting because you would. I mean, maybe it's my favorite Scarf Rocks Groudon, but no, that would. I think he's just regular. Probably it's just some regular like Lum or Earthplate or Custap Rocks Groudon as opposed to the lefties set. So in comes Groudon at nope, okay, not Scarf Rocks, sadly. Is it Lum? No, it's gonna so I'm assuming Custap now. So there are the rocks, and now it's coming into the Groudon. EQ, yeah, it's definitely not Earthplate. And they're exchanging EQs, and 64 is not in any hurry to get up his own rocks with Johnny's Ho-Oh down. There's a Plume. Maybe he's that Protox Lava Plume set. He goes to Giratina expecting it. Yeah, he is. Yeah, this is a beast of a set. And Johnny plays around it nicely. But without Will-O-Wisp, then, I mean, this thing's going to, you know, dominate Tina one-on-one, even from 75. But he just goes to Blissey. And the resurgence of Blissey in this tournament is not something I was expecting. But I think it's not long before we see Tina O starting to, like, outrage again. Oh, the Blissey has rocks. Okay, that's fine. Blissey is a great rocker. Gets so many opportunities to do so, and a nice pursuit from Johnny. Really. So now, you know, he's really doing everything he can to make sure, you know, he can try and break through after that dismal start. So, yeah, no more Sunstall, and this it's really been everywhere in this tournament. So here comes the Tina. We don't know if it's it's Protect. So yeah, this is more the instead of the hard stall variant with like rests and that sort of thing everywhere, then it's more the toxic Protect, you know, quicker stall kind of thing. So now rather than protecting again, he's just going to, which that was a good move. Well, I think he could have protected just to PP waste Draco Meteor, and there's no risk for doing so. It's not like the Tina O is likely to Calm Mind or something. But he just goes right to Blissey, and Johnny makes a great move in Shadow Sneaks, so he doesn't get PP wasted, and 64 reads that really nicely and goes back, and EQ finishes it off. So good thinking on both ends. So now here comes the Protect, and that sucks. That really, that doesn't feel very fair at all. Because he doesn't even protect for the extra lefties, and instead he just misses the Draco. Now he's got one left, and it's gonna thud off the 4-8. But that really sucks. Even no matter what this last is, it's not gonna do. I don't. It's gonna be hard for it to bring it back, and it's Palkia. And now, okay, if it's a non-scarf, if it's see non-scarf Palkia is really the way. Is this? Can my music continue playing, please? If it was a non-scarf Palkia against this team with this very stallish team with probably not a ton of speed backing it up, then yeah, it might bring it back. But if it's choiced and yeah, okay, so he goes to Latias and he Spatial Rends. Oh, nice! That was a great move. He knows he's behind and he has to bring it back. And that, I mean, if he can somehow get around the Fortress, well, no, he has too much Protect for Spatial Rend to win. But that really sucks. But that was a great try and catch the Giratina. But that was a really, really nice move. And okay, the T-Spikes go down and that's ball game. I guess he had to try and crit or something. Yeah, that really, really sucks. Because now the U-turn into Tina or Palkia, it doesn't matter because it's game. But that was look at how dangerous Ho-Oh is to this team. Yeah, I mean, this is yeah, that was just I think this game kind of speaks for itself. It's a disappointing ending to an otherwise really, really great back and forth series. So Johnny really played his heart out, but Pokemon was not having it. But that's why we have a tournament format here that tries to account for that and give more chances. So. Oh, Pain Split on Fori. Okay, that's not something you see very much. That's one way of giving it longevity. It's not always reliable, but hey, it's something. Especially because Fori's movesets can be pretty flexible. It doesn't have spikes on it. That's interesting. He's really going all in on the toxicing or poisoning everything and wearing him down approach. So, yeah, Plume, Tino goes down, and final Spatial Rend crits, and too little too late as Protect, and now it's gonna, yeah. Alright, so that was a disappointing end of the series, but, overall it was a great one to watch, so well done to both. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.